behavior board, my courses. You can look into coaching. There's a big wait list, but I'll get to eventually. Or you can listen to our podcast. There's no wait list for that. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save it on YouTube if you're interested in watching us do it. My daughter and I work together, and we do the podcast together. So I'm just going to lower my chair a little bit. Oh, there we go. Okay. So let's get going with the live. I'm here to answer questions, but I throw other stuff in too. And I'm really not about discipline. It's something that we have to do and get out of the way, but I'm more about connecting with kids. Fun, play is their love language, and you play and connect in their world, okay? Not yours. It's always in their world. Okay. Oh, it's fun. Okay, so you like Mardi Gras. I remember years ago, it was 1986, and I lived downtown, and we had the, what was it, Expo of 86, and we had that. Now, sounds great. We had fireworks. The first week was fun. We had, I don't know how long Expo goes. It was months, I think. Every single night, the fireworks went off. Yeah, I got pretty tired of that. So, Margaret from Ottawa. Welcome, Margaret. Melbourne. Stephanie from Melbourne. Yeah, my kids I moved back here when my kids are 15 and 10, and my son was the older one, and he still has an Australian accent, but my daughter doesn't. But we still use a lot of Aussie terms. From Donna from Maine. And this is Crystal. Mom of 3 teenage boys. It's my favorite age is teenagers. And in July, I got custody of my deceased brother's 5 kids. Oh my gosh. So glad I found your page. So hello from Northern Michigan. So you've got 8 kids and 3 of them are teenagers. Wow. Good for you. Wow. Get your hands full. Well, I hope I'm providing some assistance somehow, maybe some support. Maybe even just hearing what other parents are going through helps sometimes, because a lot of parents are struggling with parenting. You only really get one go at a family, right? It's not like you practice with 3 or 4 families and then you get it right and then you move on, right? Yeah, it's hard. Everyone's kind of a novice when you go into it, or most people are. Megan from North Carolina, welcome. Okay, Crystal, is it common for a child to act out with one parent, not the other? My son does things with me. Yeah, it's extremely common. It depends on your leadership. It can also be a comfort thing, like the one that they're around all the time. Sometimes, but it's usually the one who's the leader they don't tend to act out with. The one who gives in, they are more likely to act out. It's the one who's the pleaser parent is the one that gets the least amount of respect. So yeah, it's extremely common. It's just your different parenting styles, right? Who gives in more? That's the one they act out with more. I've got Belina on YouTube says, you're from Lenora, Mexico. Welcome. I'm using my podcast mic for the YouTube because YouTube is where I save all of these lives. And I realized the sound quality was really bad because I was just using my iMac. But now I've got this is our podcast mic. Okay, this is Jasmine. You say, I'm currently pregnant and we will have 4 kids age 5 and under. Good luck. It's the physical. It's very physically draining. I'm worried about staying consistent and committed to the program. Yeah, you got 4 kids under 5. Yeah, a lot of it is just waiting it out too with toddlers because you can't make a lot of sense out of them. Just have as many structured systems in your house as possible. Bedtime, mealtime, morning routine. You want to have as many routines as possible. But then the fun is a free-for-all. Like whenever you've got free time, just play with them in their world, right? But yeah, you want to have as much structure as possible to maintain that. The bigger the family, the more we work on systems and structure and routines in the family. It's like school. School operates well with tons of, I got hundreds or thousands of kids in a school. It works really well because it's structured and it's based on routine. So yeah, that's the best advice I can give you. And it's just physically demanding when you've got toddlers and a baby. You got a newborn and you got toddlers. I can't really help you with that in that it is physically demanding, but it's temporary, right? What do you do? This is Jillian or Gillian. I don't know the pronunciation. What do you do for your kid if they are the one being hit by another toddler, like the other kid's parent is removing their kid for hitting? How do I address it with my kid? Well, I don't know how old they are. If they're 2, I would just keep them apart. basically. You just keep your kid protected. And you never tell someone else how to parent, but the other parents obviously are moving their kid. So yeah, I don't know the age though. Yeah. And life's tough. The sooner they learn that other kids aren't always going to be nice to them, life is a bit of a war zone out there. I always say, make your home life lovely and loving and accepting and fun. But I used to tell my kids, yeah, you got a great home life, but when you go out there, it's a war zone. I can't protect you at school. You got to figure it out on your own too. Oh, I might give you some advice as we'll figure it out together. But basically, they're gonna come up against stuff, and that's okay. You can't protect them from all that stuff. That's part of life, right? Okay, this is from Bebelina. Sorry, I'm not sure about the name there. It's on YouTube. How can I laugh to make things light, but not make my 7-year-old feel like I'm making fun of her? Honestly, I'm not. You don't always laugh to make things light. You can use humor. It depends if it's your style. Now, you're doing it right if she's laughing with you. If she's not laughing with you, you're doing it wrong. Okay, so that's the indicator. But she's 7. Yeah. I don't know. I'd just play with her. Probably not try and make things light if she takes it too seriously. Just say, yeah, I can see how that'd be frustrating, and then move on. So rather than try to make light of everything, I don't always do that. You just say, yeah, that would be difficult, and, try and work it out with her. But then you don't have to make light of everything. So I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about there. I would need a bit more context to give you a better answer. So sorry about that. Oh, I forgot to start my timer. Darn it. Here we go. Okay. Next. So I'm going to scroll ahead to make sure you're still here when I answer your question. Oh, this is Brandy. You asked about autism. I don't discuss autism publicly. It's only in private coaching sessions because it is a special needs sort of a specialty. And I only discuss that in coaching. Yeah, I can't generalize with it, especially autism. They're all so different. I always say with kids with autism, we're just throwing mud at the wall and seeing what sticks. I need to know what stuck in the past and what didn't, and what kind of support you have, and if they're mainstreamed in school or not, or if they have an assistant or an aide. I need a lot more context to answer any question that revolves around autism. And I'm not I have no degrees, but I teach parent-child relationship, regardless of what your kids has, right? So it doesn't matter what your child has got, autism or whatever. It's the parent-child relationship is what I teach. So I can't assess any autism. You see where I'm going? I'm just covering myself here. Okay. Okay, you asked about bedtime. This is Tony. I would suggest, I just don't feel like going through the whole process right now, but I've got so many videos on bedtime routines. So if you just Google BratBusters bedtime, it'll probably hundreds of videos will pop up. So I suggest you look into that. But I have a whole routine around bedtime and how I manage it. If you want more extensive information on stuff like that, that would be the courses. But probably if you sift through the videos, someone said to me, they said, oh, the courses, it's not a lot of extra information. It's just more detailed. But then what's out there, the thing is, when people put a course together, they're selling you the bundle. They're selling you all the information is organized, laid out for you to use, made clear and easy. But all that information, if you search enough, you'll probably find everything out there for free. So it's just not organized for you, right? The only thing that isn't out there is potty training. That's a whole system. And you can only get that. My system, you can only get in the courses, because I've never just done a video on it because it's too long. It's very involved. Although I have taught that on TV. So when I used to do a lot of TV back in the old days. But anyway, that was a long time ago. I remember once I used to do breakfast TV, one of those shows. And they were so proud that they had bought a toilet, like a brand new toilet from the hardware store, for me to go on stage with, or on the TV with, to talk about potty training. And I thought, yeah, I'm a real classy broad. I'm on TV with a toilet. I appreciated that they got it, but I thought that it just struck me as funny. Yeah, potty training's in the courses. Unfortunately, you'd have to buy the course. It's a whole system. Oh, interesting. You said I couldn't hear the whole thing because an ad came up. An ad comes up while I'm talking on YouTube? Really? I didn't know that. I've never seen a live. I've never watched one anywhere, so I don't know how they operate. I know how to do one. I just have never seen one. I had no idea that ads interrupted a live. Do they really? If you could just confirm that, I'm interested. That's interesting. I had no idea. Bah, 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 bah. Sorry, I'm just going to scroll ahead here on Facebook to make sure you're still here when I answer. People come and go in lives. They never just turn up and stay, or most of them don't. And if you're putting a snippet like an age, you have to put the whole question and the age, because I'm not going to go back. Like, I can't remember what your question was. So if I said I need an age, you have to put the whole question in again plus the age. It's the first time it happens to me. Yeah, okay, well, let's see what I don't understand that. You're in Mexico. Maybe it's different there. I don't know. I have no idea how that stuff works. How much are your courses? Just go on my website if you want to look into that. The behavior board's free. It's like it's like sort of the training wheels with all this stuff. But if you want more, the courses are in there. I'll be honest, I don't know the exact amount because I never buy them. So I never look. My daughter does all that stuff. And then the coaching it's very expensive, and there's a big wait list for that. Most people don't need coaching. A lot of people rehire me over and over again. They just want that support, right? But yeah, I would strongly recommend just try that, or just check out the free behavior board first for the podcast. We don't have a book yet, but we do have something that's sort of like a book. If you go on YouTube and you look up BratBusters Parenting, go in my playlists, and there's that Calm Leadership Parenting series. And there's 7 videos, which are podcasts that we filmed, 7 podcasts in 7 days. That's all the basics with all this stuff. It's the closest thing I have to a book. That's why we did it. We were hoping to do a book in the last 2 years, but we just have been so busy It's just my daughter and I running the company. And we just got really busy, and she plans everything. So I thought we were going to do a book last year, but she said we're not. So we just don't have time. We'll get there one day. But the 7 series podcast, it's all free. So, and I'm here to make a difference. I mean, yeah, money's great because it's a business. We gotta eat, right? But that really, why I'm here is I really want to make a difference. I really do. And it's not that I want you to raise good kids. That's a byproduct of all this. What I really want, my main goal, is that you have fun. I want you to enjoy your kids. I want you to wallow in parenting like I did. It was the most fun time of my whole life. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was fun. It was easy. I loved it. You never want to take parenting advice from someone who struggled with parenting. That's ridiculous. You want to talk to someone who loved it and found it easy, and the kids respected them. And yeah, and I respected my kids too. I was accountable too, believe me. That's what a leader is. You got to be accountable. If you're not accountable, you're just a dictator. Okay. Oh, how sweet. Thanks, Emily. You said, I finally found my tribe. I so resonate with your material. Excellent. Not everyone's going to like me. And if you don't, move on. Find someone that you like, because you're going to follow them. If you don't like me, you're not going to do what I recommend. So I'm of no value to you whatsoever. Although this was funny. Someone said, I really like your advice, but I can't stand listening to you. So is anyone else teaching it? I invented all this. So if anyone else is teaching it, they're just copying me. So anyway, so this is still from Emily. I'm wondering how you handle meal times with a 2.5-year-old. How long do you make them sit and eat? Okay, I'm always sort of hesitant to discuss meal times because I'm not a nutritionist and I'm not a doctor. You got to get food into them. So, it's kind of a little bit of a balance. You got to not so much give a little, but I'll tell you one thing I do is when my granddaughter's eating, she's 2. If she's not into what's in front of her, I'll read a book while she's eating. I'm always sitting with her. I'll read a book while she's eating, and then it's a book she likes. So I'll say, oh, you have another bite, and turn the page, like as soon as she has another bite, I have to turn the page. Then I'll turn the page. So yeah, I use a little bit of bribery, but I'm connecting with her too. So, but I don't really like to talk a lot about what food I don't talk about that because I'm not a nutritionist, right? But yeah, I make it like it's a social thing, and she sometimes forgets she's eating. She's just eating while I'm reading a book. You said, this is Sarah. What about stubborn 3-year-old boy non-talkers? I don't know the question. So, and some kids are very slow to talk. it's not always connected to the cognitive ability. So some of them just don't talk till they're 3. Okay. Sorry, my daughter just sent me something. Why would she do that? Just let me check. Might be something that she wants me to talk about in the live. We work together, so. What did she send me? Here we go. Sorry. Oh no, it's just something else. Yeah, my daughter and I do the podcast together. We have lots of fun. Okay. Okie dokie. This is Cindy from Quebec. I absolutely love your tantrums management solution. My 22-month-old screams so much less now. You know, it's easy for me to give advice. You're the one doing all the work. So congratulate yourself. Good for you. By the way, tantrums are not filled with big emotions and feelings. They're just a loss of emotional control, not getting their own way. They're built on anger and frustration. You don't really need to address that, okay? There's a whole way of ignoring. It's a very specific way of ignoring. So you might want to look into, if you just Google BratBusters tantrums, I got hundreds of videos on tantrums. We've also done a podcast just on tantrums. So if you go into YouTube or one of the platforms and you search through BratBusters tantrums, one of the podcasts should come up. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to read this because it's just kind of being flattering me. But I am on the other side of parenting. Heather was saying, I'm on the other side of parenting. I would never take parenting advice, and I mean this really sincerely. I'm sure there's lots of other people with this criteria too. There's 3 criteria I believe that a parenting coach should have, because it's so experience based. It just is. Number 1, they have to have finished the job. If they haven't lived with teenagers yet and raised them into adulthood, how can they teach parenting? How do they know where they're going? How do you know what to invest in now so you'll sail through the teen years, right? That's number 1. The second one is you don't want to hear from someone who struggled. You want to hear from someone who found it easy, right? This one thing that you just do not want to be relatable as a parenting coach. If people are struggling, you want them to go, oh, I want to do what she did. You don't want me to be relatable. Like, I struggle too. You just don't want that. And the third one is they have to have worked with hundreds of other kids. I didn't learn much with my own 2 kids, right? I learned it with all the hundreds of other kids I worked with. They taught, because I worked with challenging kids, right? They taught me all this. They taught me leadership. And I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11, and I was babysitting at 11 also. I was always meant to do this, I think. I was always mothering. So that's just the criteria. If I don't resonate with you and you find me annoying, totally respect that. Move on to someone else, but look for those 3 criteria. They have to have finished the job. How on earth can they teach parenting if they haven't even finished it yet? Doesn't make any sense at all. To me anyway, because I know what those teen years are like. And that is what most people get tripped up by. And if you set yourself up for it, if you know what to set up for, you'll sail through it. If you haven't lived through it yet, how can you teach it? Okay. And a lot of my clients are teachers, principals, and child psychologists. They struggle with parenting too, but I couldn't do their jobs. Those are businesses. Parenting is personal. It's different. There's no degree in parenting. Okay. Like, I couldn't do what they do. I so admire them completely, but they also struggle with parenting. Parenting is my lane. I couldn't possibly talk about, like, a lot of teachers ask my advice. I say, I don't know. I don't know anything about teaching, but thank you for your service, because teaching is a very hard job. And I don't think parent coaching is. I love it. I love it. Like, I find it easy because teaching is just different. You got 30 kids in a room. Wow. I couldn't fathom doing that. I just couldn't even relate to that. Okay. Oops. "19-month-old is unbothered when we take away fun mom or dad. After we walk away, he just continues to play happily. Does this mean it's not working?" So this is when he's naughty. He does something that you don't like. You remove yourself, and he just doesn't notice. Is that what you're saying? So yeah, maybe take something more obvious away. I always say when you're dealing with a toddler, to me is about 16 to 35 months. The about is not the 35 months. That's kind of solid, but the 16, it could be 16, 17, 18 months. Anyway, so when you're dealing with a toddler, you use consistent corrective actions and you remove them from the fun or the fun from them. You don't always have a toy to take away. So I say you remove yourself. If it's not working yet, it might work eventually. He's still so little. So yeah, it might work eventually. Or take a toy away. Or you pick him up and remove him from whatever because you said he continues playing happily. Maybe remove him from the fun for a minute or so. Like a lot of kids, a lot of parents will say, this isn't working, older kids, and you'll say, okay, so 24-hour media blackout. And the kid says, I don't care. They usually do care. What they say doesn't always mean what they mean or what they're thinking. So I'm just watching my timer here. Sorry, I forgot to look at YouTube. I'm over here now. 6-year-old and almost 3-year-old, pregnant with third, Marissa on YouTube. They constantly are pushing each other's buttons. Should I step in or let them work it out as long as they aren't physical? I would give them some tools to work it out. So I would figure, is it a sharing issue or is it just they're teasing each other to get themselves worked out? I would step in. You might want to look at my podcast on sibling rivalry. I think I've got one, something like that. I go into a lot of detail on podcasts, and I talk about some tools, some things that you can do, not just to stop the fighting, but to teach them how to get along. And if you've got two kids who don't get along, you never do one-on-one time with them. It builds resentment. You only play with them together, like the three of you or whatever. So yeah, you might want to check out a podcast. We didn't do it that long ago. I hope it's out there. It should be. I think we've done enough podcasts now. I think we're doubling up on some topics. No, I never do potty training videos. Potty training is a big system. It's quite involved. So it's only in the boot camp courses. So yeah, I don't have that for free anywhere just because it's a real system. Most of my information's out there for free, but that's one thing I've held back because it is a whole system. It's quite involved. Oh, okay. You got this is Shang something. Sorry, I can't read the whole name on YouTube. Says, I have a 9-month-old. Okay, so you said he's very strong-willed and cries, blah, blah. Okay, and then you said, at this age, is it appropriate to say a firm no and not respond immediately, even if I cry? Okay. Now, with babies, I start not disciplining, but at about 9 or 10 months old, I start teaching them right from wrong. Well, not even so much right, but I start teaching them what I don't like. So if they hit, I would say no, and I never say it firm. You never say no to any kid actually with anger or stubbornness or firmness ever. You never say no. That's anger. I don't use that. I would just say no, and then I redirect. I redirect a baby. Okay, when they hit about 16 to 18 months, then I start using consistent corrective actions. But before then, I just say no and I redirect their attention away from whatever that was. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to be moving over to Instagram now, and I'm on YouTube the whole time, which is where I save all these lives. If you're not going over to Instagram with me, you can check out my website. It's bratbusters.com. You can see my free behavior board, my boot camp courses. You can look into one-on-one coaching with me. I do have a big wait list for that, but I'll get to you eventually. And you can also listen to our podcast if you would like to. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save it on YouTube if you want to watch us film it. My daughter and I work together. She does all the marketing, all the planning. She basically tells me what to do in the company, and we do the podcast together. She runs the show. I never know what we're going to be talking about. I don't like planning anything. I just like thinking off the cuff because otherwise I'd be bored. I could never plan what I'm going to say. It would be horrible to me. Anyway, I got to get going over to Instagram, and happy parenting. Oh, We just hit 800,000 followers on Instagram. That was probably in the last hour. So I'll have to thank, once I get hooked up there, I'll have to thank them for that. I knew it was coming up, but I didn't know. Crap, I just got here, someone said on YouTube. I just got here. I've only been on here for about 20 minutes. Guess I got to start the start. Yeah, I've been on, I was just on Facebook, and then I go to Instagram, and then I go to TikTok. So you're 1/3 of the way through. I didn't say anything that interesting. I don't think I ever do. I'm just sitting here nattering usually. A lot of it's just the same old stuff, but I get a lot of new people in, and I like to throw other stuff in. You know, I'm not about discipline. I'm about connecting with kids. So I like to really focus on that as much as possible. Okay, good enough people in here. Hi, redheaded rebel. That's cute. Okay, so welcome to my live. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, my boot camp courses. You can look into coaching. Sorry, there's a big wait list, but I'll get to that eventually. Or you can look into my podcast. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save it on YouTube. We don't have a book yet, but we do have a 7-series Calm Leadership podcast series, 7 podcasts that we filmed all in a row. It's on YouTube. It's in the playlist. And that is basically, if I was to have a book, it sort of would be like that. It's got all the basic information. So if you don't know anything about BratBusters and you find this at all interesting, you might want to check that out. Okay, so by the way, I just in the last hour, I think I hit 800,000 followers here on Instagram. I just want to thank you for that support. It's been overwhelming. I'll be honest, I've been in business now for, I think it's 19 years. And the first 14, I would say, were a struggle. You know, I'm different. No one really was ready to hear what I was saying. It was the pleaser parent style had a stronghold on parents. And then they realized it's a total disaster. And so now people are starting to listen. And I'm very grateful for that, because I want you to enjoy your kids. I don't want them to disrespect you, and I don't want you to disrespect them. So I'm really glad that people are listening now, because I'm here. This is my legacy. It's not just a company to me. It's my legacy. So I really want to make a difference. I want you to have fun parenting. That's my main goal. Having nice kids is just a byproduct, right? I want you to enjoy parenting as much as I did. I loved it. It was the most fun time of my whole life, right through the teen years. Loved it. Okay. Anyway, thanks so much for your support. I really appreciate that. And also to the podcast, I also wanted to say a huge thank you to that. That has it's just been, you know, mind-blowing how well that's done. And yeah, I just want to thank you for that. Everything's been a big surprise, because I've been at this business for so many years, and then it just blew up in the last, I'd say 3 years. 3 years. I went on TikTok and blew up overnight, changed our lives. And I'm glad that people are ready to hear about leadership parenting. I believe in this. I want you to be best friends with your kids, but also a leader that gives respect to get it, right? So I really believe in what I'm talking about. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't. You know why? Because these are your kids, and a lot of young parents are very vulnerable. And I'm really confident in what I'm saying. I don't know if it's perfect, but I really believe in it, because I've worked with hundreds of kids, of teenagers, etc. So, and I'm very aware of how vulnerable a lot of parents are in taking advice. So I'll never take advantage of that. I always say what I truly believe is best for you and your family. I truly believe in what I'm teaching. I have never ever swayed away from my beliefs. Lots of people have said, you know, Lisa, you know what really is selling right now, what you should be teaching, and that. Never listened to anything, nothing. I stayed true to what I've been doing for 50 plus years with kids. I really believe in this, because I want you to enjoy kids, and I want them to enjoy you. I want that fun element, and also respect. Okay, enough of that. Geez, I don't know why I went off on my tangent. I do that sometimes. Sorry about that. Okay, question time. How do you handle 1-year-old twins snatching things away from each other and starting to grab at one another's face when frustrated? Yeah, they're going to try stuff, especially they're the same age. One doesn't have a lot over the other, although one is often more aggressive than the other. But just keep them separate then. Move them apart and say, you can just say a quick no and then redirect them, because they're still babies, right? So you just redirect them. Make sure that they have equal toys, like they each have something to look at. They're not just trying to play with one thing. They'll learn to play together eventually, hopefully, you know. But right now they're just going to try stuff. they're just going to try it. I want that. I'm going to take it. And if they won't give it to me, I'm going to hit them across the face to get it. So they're just going to try stuff. How does your leadership parenting differentiate between authoritative style parenting? That's the old fashioned way of parenting. I was never parented that way. And I was born in 1960. My parents were unusual. My mom was more of a leader. The authority is not a bad way to parent. It's my way or the highway. You do as I say, not as I do. I'm in charge here. That's the authority. I would never talk like that. And also, they will rebel in the teen years. A lot of authority style parents had a lot of problems with teenagers. Now, the newfangled pleaser parent style, which is all about trying to please your children. And I won't go into it too much, but you know what I'm talking about. And it's a disaster from day one. They never respect you. You're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. Yes, I am exaggerating, but they're more likely to be the entitled whiners, and they fall apart at everything. They don't respect you. They're always asking you for stuff. It's a total disaster. They're very weak. That's sort of the way I explain that. What happened was no one wanted to be raised with the authority because they didn't feel heard. So what they did was the pendulum swung the exact opposite way, and they spoil their kids. They give in to all their demands because they want them to feel heard. You're ruining them. Okay. I don't teach either one of those. A leader is also accountable. Like with the behavior board, the parents are on there too. My kids didn't act out. I was more likely to get in trouble. I'd say, oh, I promise I'll make muffins tonight or something. Of course, I'd forget. Mom, you promised you'd make muffins. I don't see no muffins. So I'd take them to the water slide park or something to make it up to them. Leaders are also accountable, okay? Leaders never yell. Leaders are really good listeners. Like, I've never yelled at my kids. I was never yelled at. And you never show anger, disappointment, or frustration, okay? That's the shaming, blaming, and bullying. You don't do that. So yeah, leader is the one that they'll tell everything to, right through the teen years. You're a safe place to land, and you're also fun because you know how to play in their world. Play is their love language. And things really shift and change in the teen years too. They're my favorite age. And a lot of parents don't understand that things do have to shift and change. Your leadership is at its strongest between the ages of 3 and 12, okay? All their behaviors are a direct result of your parenting. Under that, they're just kind of nuts. Toddlers are just forming. They're going to try stuff. So yeah. But by the age of 3 to 12, their behavior is a result of your parenting. So you can't blame them if they act out. You go, what am I missing? What am I doing wrong? Now, when they hit the teen years, things start to shift and change. You're the leader, right? When they hit the teen years, you are passing that baton over to them, slowly but surely. You want to give them more responsibility, more say, more negotiating power. You got to start passing that baton over to them. A lot of parents miss that. And that's why even though maybe we're a leader, the leadership changes in the teen years. So you're still a leader, and a leader should be friends with your kids. You want to be you want to be relatable. You want to be fun. You want to be friends with your kids. And you're very open. Like if my kids didn't like something, they would tell me, Mom, I don't like the way you did that. That was unfair. I go, okay, well, and then I'd make it up to them, right? They never came at me unless they knew they were right. They were always right. I was always the one messing up. Okay, now I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers, okay? And this is as a leader. And the authority is, like I said, if you're going to err on either side, go with the authority. If between that and the pleaser, the authority is a way better way to go. But I don't teach either. So I want to be friends with my kids right through the teen years. I want them to tell me everything. I want them to feel heard. I want them to have a voice, and I want to be accountable, right? Okay. And when you're the authority, you kind of come across like a know-it-all. I never did that with my kids. My mom never did that either. If I went to my mom with a problem, and I'd say, what should I do, Mom? She would have the exact same response every single time. Well, I don't know. You're a smart girl. You can figure it out. And then we'd start chatting. I always thought I was solving all my own problems. She was feeding me ideas, but she never told me what to do. Leaders don't do that. Leaders encourage children to work out their own problems. You're there for support, right? And some guidance. But even then, hold back. Don't come across as a know-it-all. Come across as I'm here for you no matter what. No judgment, no yelling, no sternness, no firm tone. That's all patronizing. I would never say this to a kid. Why would you do that? You know better than that. What a snotty thing to say to a kid. I hate that kind of stuff. I really do. I think it's mean. Do you imagine if your boss said that to you? It's patronizing and it's mean. But parents do this all the time with their kids. You know better. Don't. And then if you're going out somewhere, you'll say to them, you better be good. Could you imagine if your spouse said that to you? You're going out for dinner and he says or she says, you better be good. Think about it. And yet parents do that to their kids all the time. It's mean. Yeah, that's the old-fashioned authority. Don't do it. Okay, these are my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They already know it anyway. Number 2, with teenagers, negotiate as much as possible. It goes something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? Reciprocity, right? You got to give to get. You can't just expect them to do everything you want. You got to go back and forth. You got to be fair and reasonable. Okay, number 3, don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? Or do you want to hear what I did yesterday? There's no shame in making mistakes, just like you do. Okay, you make mistakes, right? It's part of life. Life's messy. People are messy. That's okay. You know, the big stuff, yeah, you deal with it. But the small stuff, let it go. They're teenagers. They're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. Number 4, don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times with teenagers. Often I'll coach a parent how to connect with their teenager. And then I say, do not take that opportunity now that you're connecting with them. Do not take that opportunity to discuss how they've been disappointing you the last 2 or 3 years. Sure enough, every so often a parent will slip through and do it anyway. They just can't help themselves. They just can't help themselves. And then they can't figure out why their kid gave them the finger and left. Like, of course they're gonna. Right? When do you discuss the bad times with teenagers? Never. What's the point? If you can give me a reason to discuss the bad times, I'll listen, but I've never done it. Yeah, no, never. Okay, number 5, you can be a right fighter with a teenager or you can be happy. You can't be both. They'll die on any hill. If they're arguing, and even if they know they're wrong, they'll keep arguing. Just take the high road. Just say, I'll tell you what, let's just forget it, or let's just talk about it later. Do not add when you've calmed down. That's an accelerator. It's an insult. It's patronizing. It's button pushing. Just say, let's just talk about it later, and just, leave it at that. Okay. Does that make sense? That's teenagers. My favorite age by far. I started my business doing teen crisis work, and I still get that. But yeah, I've branched out now just because they're my favorite age. It's teenagers. And what's interesting is with teenagers is parents almost think, well, it's too late. I give up. It does get harder. Yes, it does. You know, the most common age I'm hired by parents with teenage boys is just turned 15. It's amazing. It's almost always when I'm hired by parents with teenage boys who are in trouble or they're struggling with, just turned 15. Girls are anywhere 12 to 16, 17, but boys are just turned 15. Isn't that funny? It's testosterone kicking in. I think, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I'm guessing. I can literally remember when my son was 14 and he just turned 15. And every single morning I'd come downstairs and I'd say he was always at the kitchen sink. And I'd say, morning, sweetie. And he'd turn around and say, morning, mom, with his voice, morning, mom. And we'd start chatting and laughing. It was great. And then I started to notice he was changing. He wasn't chatting as much. His voice was getting a bit lower. And one morning I came downstairs. It was like this. I came downstairs and I said, morning, sweetie. And he turned around and his face just looked different. And he went, morning, mom. And he was starting to turn into a man. Like they start to change, and one day I even said to him, I said, sweetie, how come we're not giggling and laughing as much? And he goes, mommy says, it's hard to turn into a man when your best friend is your mummy. He was naturally just kind of pulling away a bit. That's what they do to grow up, right? They have to separate a little bit to grow up. So don't be hurt by that. Just make sure you're always available. It's a lot of give and not a lot of take sometimes with teenagers, but you always want to be there for them. When they do want you, I was there and like you went, oh, yeah, it was pathetic, Okay, you come across as super authentic. I don't have any other personality. I only got one. So, and this is something I taught to my kids too. I was born kind of like this, I have no filter. So, but I trust myself. I like myself. I'm not going to say anything horrible anyway, but I remember growing up, adults used to comment on this with me, and I can remember this. They would say, how do you walk into a room full of strangers like you own it? And I was young. And you know what? You know why? And I always told my kids this too. I said, Never worry about if people like you, because if they don't, are you going to change your personality anyway? Like if you know you're a good person, just be who you are, put yourself out there. Chances are, if someone doesn't like you, it's probably going to be mutual, right? So who cares if people don't like you? I always walk into a room full of strangers thinking, I hope I like someone here. It would never dawn on me to worry if they like me, because I don't care if everybody likes me. That's okay, because I don't like everybody. So that's okay. I always taught my kids not to be a people pleaser. Just be who you are, be authentic, be real. And if people like you, great. It's usually mutual, right? Not always. Sometimes you're rejected. That's okay. Life's like that, right? So, and sometimes you reject people who really like you. But just be yourself anyway. Because what if you're a people pleaser, that implies that you feel you're not good enough as you are, right? So I taught my kids that. And also, someone once said to me, they said, well, what, do you think you're better than other people? That's why you walk in like you own the room. And I said, no, I just don't think anyone's better than me. We're all in the same playing field, right? We're all the same. When you cut right down to it, we all have the same stuff, right? Okay, how do you handle lying? You got a 3.5-year-old lying. Just put down on the behavior board. Oh, is this a daycare? If it's a mom, I only teach parenting, so I'm assuming you're the mom. Anyway, put down on your behavior board, it's free on my website, bratbusters.com. The rule for your child is no lying. And then every time they lie, just call it like it is. Say, okay, you lied, here's your consequence. Don't argue it, don't discuss it. If you know you caught them lying, it's all these discussions that get you in trouble. It makes you look weak and unsure of yourself. Like if I'm at that behavior board now, and I've got a kid who's, I would never use a behavior board, by the way. It's a teaching tool. But anyway, let's say when I'm teaching this, so you've got a behavior board and the rule is no lying. So you go to the board with the kid and you say, okay, so you were lying, and they start arguing. You already know they're lying for sure, okay? They start arguing, and I would listen to them while they're arguing, and I'd be like this. As soon as they stop talking, I'd say, oh, and your consequence is, in other words, the arguing means nothing to me. I'm going to ignore it. I'm in control of the conversation. I'm a leader. I'm in control of the narrative, the energy, all that. I'm at the board. I said, okay, so your rule was no lying. You lied. I hate you. I hate you. I wasn't lying. Blah, blah. And I'm like this. As soon as they stop talking. Anyway, so your consequence is this. See how calm I am? I'm in control. I'm very calm. Their arguing is just disrespectful. So and by the way, that attitude, the disrespect is on you. You got to earn that. Okay. And this is how you earn it. You stay calm, follow through with the board, make it happen. That's okay if they argue and they say they hate you. Who cares? That's them trying to control you. Don't let it bug you. If a kid makes a bad choice on YouTube here, Lily, do you go straight in with a consequence, or do you give them a chance to correct? Well, I don't know. Like, are they 2? Are they 7? And what's the choice they made? I don't know. I need context. You need to be specific. And yeah. At what age are they intentionally lying? Sometimes, well, on the board, we never start the board till they're 3. I feel like they don't know what they're doing. Sometimes, well, it depends. If they're 3, they know they're lying. They know the difference between what happened and what they're making up. They know that. 3 is a real leap in cognitive ability. It's that frontal lobe stuff. They have the ability to stop and think before they act and to reason things out. Doesn't mean they're always going to do it, but they have the ability to learn to do that. So that's why the behavior board starts at 3. Not much before. Could maybe be a couple of weeks, 3 weeks before, 4 weeks before. And they can be really smart, but still not have that cognitive development yet where they can stop and think before they act. And that's what the behavior board is feeding off of, teaching them to stop and think before they act. Lulu from Long Island. Hello. How did you teach your kids to not be people pleasers? Well, I don't really understand that people pleasing. My kids, I made sure they had high self-esteem. People with high self-esteem are not people pleasers. In other words, I'm okay the way I am. I could care less if you like me or not. It means nothing to me. Nothing. And that's what I taught my kids. If you don't like me as I am, that's okay. Who cares? I like myself. I got high self-esteem, right? Confidence is different from self-esteem, by the way. Like a lot of confident people can get up on stage, but a lot of comedians and actors still have very low self-esteem, but they can get up. They have a lot of confidence to get up in front of people. Okay. It's a difference. They might be the life of the party, but very low self-esteem. Self-esteem is how you view yourself. And a person with high self-esteem would never be a people pleaser. So work on their self-esteem. That's all I'm teaching here. I'm teaching you to make your kids feel good about themselves. When they feel good, they do good. When they feel bad, they do bad. Oh, what are good consequences for back talking? There are none. It just means that you're not a leader yet. That's on you. It's your fault that they're back talking. So work on your leadership skills and they don't back talk. That's the attitude. It just means that you haven't earned their respect. You can't blame them for that. You can't blame them for your lack of leadership, right? So work on your leadership. They never sass a leader. They just don't. I've worked with hundreds of kids. I managed to get respect with all of them as a leader. They don't sass a leader. They just don't. So work on your leadership. Don't blame them for their bad behavior or their bad attitude, especially between the ages of 3 and 12, especially them. It's on you. So work on yourself. Sometimes parents will come back at me. We had a parent shame. So you'd rather blame your kids than yourself? Who do you love more? You or your kids? Wouldn't you rather blame yourself and take responsibility for their behavior than blame them? They're just the victims of your parenting. That's all. You can't blame them for that attitude. You just can't. You can correct actions. And the only things that come out of their mouth that I would put on a behavior board is swearing or name calling. That's it. If they say, I hate you, I hate. So whatever. That's what I would say. If a kid was saying to me, I hate you, you're lousy, you're stupid, you're ugly, I'd go, whatever. And then I'd walk away thinking, I got some work to do on myself as a leader. When I was working with kids and when I was first getting to know them, they would sometimes sass me. And I thought, yeah, I got some work to do. What am I missing here? What am I missing? I never blamed them because it's not the way you want to do it. You, as a leader, will always look to themselves. A leader will always take charge and always blame themselves. Right? That's what I teach here. I'm not going to read that out. Well, you already wrote it. But anyway, I'm not going to discuss it at all. But someone said that they threatened, that they told their kid they hired me. So the kid's all scared now. It sounds like your neuroticism is really low, but how to regulate if you're not? It makes it hard to be with kids too. I don't quite understand your neuroticism. What do you mean by that? I don't understand that. I don't understand the context in there. I don't think I have any neuroticism. I got a lot of stuff, but I'm very goofy. That can be a flaw sometimes. Yeah, I don't know if I'm neurotic. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Okay. 2-year-old says, hug me during tantrums. No, you don't hug. That's not a love hug. That's a manipulative hug. They can't get you to give them attention any other way. Hug me. You don't love me. I need you. They'll say anything to pull you into the tantrum. What they're doing is dragging you into the tantrum. It's not a love hug. It's a validate the tantrum hug. It's like, come on in, join me. That's all it is. It's not a love hug. Check out, I've got tons of videos on tantrums. I think we've done a whole podcast on tantrums. If you go on YouTube and look up BratBusters parenting tantrums, I think I've got podcasts on that. Or you can just look in the videos, or I don't know. I never look at I don't know anything about I don't know anything about anything online. My daughter does all that. But I know we save the podcasts on the YouTube channel. Or you can go on any platform for podcasts and look up BratBusters parenting tantrums. It'll come up. Okay, I'll tell you what I did when my babies were breastfeeding and they bit me. I just screamed out in agony and they got scared and screamed too. And my daughter stopped biting after that. She was about 8 months old, but I just screamed because it hurt. Just a reaction, scared the bejeebies out of her. My son cried too. I think he bit me maybe one more time after that. But yeah, there is nothing you can do. They're just babies. Boy, that hurt though. Whew. Okay, someone else asked, maybe it was the same one, consequences for back talk. You can't blame them for back talking you. That's on you. You didn't earn their respect. You got to work for it. You got to earn it. So that's all I'm teaching here is how to set yourself up as a leader to get respect, and you give it to get it. You can't blame them for back talk. That's you. You taught them that. I don't want to answer that because I don't have enough context around that. Sorry. I don't want to say what it was. But I was reading and then I realized there wasn't enough context. You have any suggestions for consequences for lying? Just put it on the board and just follow through with the consequences that I recommend, or come up with your own, whatever you'll see out there. Don't get caught up in what the consequences are. The first there's always two consequences, but the first one is just a good deed. Don't get caught up in what it is. It's not important. It's the act of having one. It's the consistency. Everyone thinks there's a perfect, it has to be a natural consequence, or the punishment should fit the crime. It doesn't have to. Don't worry about what the consequence is. Just make sure there is one. So consistency is more important than the actual consequence. Don't worry about that. Everyone wants to know what the perfect consequence is. The consistency is the perfection, not the consequence. And sometimes kids, parents have tried, they always say they've tried everything, but I've usually got a few things that I can work on. But yeah, we have to get creative sometimes with consequences because they've tried. I wish there was a shorter word for consequences. Anyway, yeah, they'll sometimes say they've tried everything, and they have tried a lot. And then we have to get really creative and try and find some others, especially with older kids. It gets harder as they get older. But yeah, you can always find something. Following up on the neuroticism question, I love them. It's all fun and all. They like to play with me, but it's hard, for me to be actually leading them. Well, just keep following me. You'll get the idea. You're not going to get this in 1 hour. I mean, actually, look at the pool story. The pool story it's a really good explanation of how I treat children. I don't let anything go. I don't take any crap from kids. And I never yell. I never look angry. But I deal with bad behavior, then I drop it. I let it go. And then I focus on the good kid. I always focus on connecting more than disciplining. Discipline is just a tiny part of all this. It really is. What do you do when you get mad? Well, I don't tend to get mad. I don't have a big temper or anything, but because I know how well I just understand kids. So I know the way to go around that. But I do get mad when I'm driving. Yeah, I really do. What do I do? I'll be honest, I'm more of a talker. I like to reason things out more. And the older I've got, the more mellow I've got. So yeah, I'm not prone to getting mad. So that's on you. When you're angry, when something makes you angry, it's usually because you don't know what else to do. You feel out of control. You feel like there's an injustice. But once you're a leader and you've kind of got all the answers with kids, you kind of understand them, there's no need to get angry, right? So just keep educating yourself on all this leadership stuff, and then the anger will go away because you don't need to be angry, right? You go, like, if I'm disciplining, this is how I talk. If I'm disciplining, this is how I sound. I'll tell you what, I don't like what you just did there. Here's what we're going to do. I like a whisper, right? Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get you to blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then they do it, and then it's over. I don't discuss it. I never discuss bad behavior. I deal with it, but then I drop it. But that's how I speak. I get a lot of questions on back talking. Remember, back talking is on you, not them. You can't blame them for reacting to your parenting. Their sass is a sign that you're not a leader and they don't respect you. You can't blame them for you not earning their respect. You got to earn it. You got to work for it. You got to be a leader to get their respect. Okay. You can't blame them for your lack of leadership. Work on yourself. I'm going over to TikTok now if you want to join me over there. If not, check out my website. It's BratBusters Parenting. You can get my free behavior board, my courses, my coaching. I've got a big wait list for that, but I'll get to you eventually. And the podcast is called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save it on YouTube. We don't have a book, but we do have a 7-series podcast. It's on YouTube. It's in the playlist, and it's the 7-series leadership parenting something. Anyway, it's 7 podcasts, which are the basics of all this stuff if you want to know what leadership's all about. Anyway, thanks so much. About an hour ago, we hit 800,000 followers here on Instagram. And we're just so grateful for that. I'm still blown away by that. I think I've only been on here for a couple of years. Well, I've been on here probably for longer, but we've really only got on here properly about 2 years ago. So I just want to thank you for all your support. It's not taken for granted at all. And I really appreciate that. And I hope that we're helping you. I hope we're making a difference. And I hope you're enjoying your family more as a result of what we're putting out there, because that's why we're here. Anyway, happy parenting. I'm on YouTube the whole time, and I'm hopping over to TikTok now. Bye now. We have. Okay. Okay. TikTok's my biggest platform, but I think my biggest live following is Instagram. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm just going to wait for everyone to turn up. I'm going to have a sip. My voice is starting to go. Whew. You might notice I'm using my podcast mic, because I noticed we do save the, oh, my hat's all crooked. We do save these lives on YouTube, and I noticed the sound quality was really bad. So I thought I'll start using my good mic for that. Okay, so I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up here on TikTok. I just came from Instagram, and I was on Facebook before that. Whenever I'm doing a live, I'm on YouTube the whole time, and that's where I save all of my lives. Okay, I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up. I'm in Vancouver, Canada here, and we've had no snow yet. We sometimes don't get snow at all. We're the mildest city in Canada, and it's cold out, but we often don't get snow. And we haven't had any yet. There's a lot of sun. It's been fantastic. Oh, excellent. So happy to hear that. Someone HDHSBSJ on YouTube. Thanks for all your content. By the way, following your methods is helping me enjoy parenting. That makes my day, because I always say my main goal is not that you raise nice kids. That's a byproduct of all this. My main goal is that you have fun with your kids. I want you to enjoy parenting. I want you to wallow in your kids like I did. It was the most fun time of my whole life. I loved it. I found it easy, enjoyable. I loved parenting. That's why I'm teaching it. Never take parenting advice from someone who didn't find it easy. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. I worked with tons of kids before I had my own, so it helped. I was always trying to figure them out. I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11. I also started babysitting when I was 11. I was always mothering. So it's just my lane. It's what I was good at. A whole bunch of stuff I'm not good at. So it just happens. We've all got stuff we're good at and stuff we're not good at. So I think the not good at is a lot bigger list than what I'm good at, for sure. Okay, so welcome to my live. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it is BratBusters.com. You can see my free behavior board, my courses, my coaching. Sorry about the big wait list, but I will get to eventually with coaching. And the podcast is called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save it on YouTube. If you want to know all the basic information with BratBusters, you can go in our 7 podcast series, which is on YouTube. It's in the playlist, and it's all calm leadership. I should look into what that's called here. Just a sec. It's in the playlist on YouTube, if I can find it. I'm terrible at this stuff. I don't know how to do this. Horrible. View your channel. That'll be it. View your channel. Okay. Okay, so if you go into the playlist, it's called Calm Leadership Parenting Series. There are 7 podcasts in there. And that we did that specifically just to put it together as sort of our, what do you call that? All the basic information. And we don't have a book yet, so that's sort of where we put it. We thought we would have had a book by now, but we've just been too busy. So we will get one out eventually. Anyway, that's for all of our basic information. If you're just starting out and you want to know more about BratBusters, you might want to check that out. Anyway, let's get going with the live. I am here answering questions, but I've learned it's more effective to also throw in other stuff, little nuggets of what I think are nuggets of information to help you out with. Like one of them is that if kids feel good, they do good. If they feel bad, they do bad. So if you're disciplining your kids and they feel bad about themselves, you're doing it wrong. They can be mad at you. That's okay, but we don't want them to feel bad about themselves. There's a difference, okay? So think about that. If they feel good, they do good. If they feel bad, they do bad. When I was working with teenagers, one of them said to me, I didn't like myself till I met you. That was the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me, by the way, or right up there, that's for sure. And yeah, if they feel good, they do good. Think about it. If you're with someone who makes you feel great about yourself, how do you treat that person? That's what leadership's all about. You're like a mentor, a coach. You ever had anyone that you look up to that makes you feel great and you kind of want to please them too, right? Even as an adult, if someone makes you feel great, don't you kind of follow them around trying to please them? It's just natural. That's what a good leader does. You bring out the best in them. You make them feel like $1,000,000, and they're going to treat you great, right? And their self-esteem will skyrocket too. That's really what you want. I don't want her to think she's responsible for my emotions. When disciplining my 2-year-old, she'll ask me, Mommy, are you happy? Or she'll tell me she loves me. So are you showing, you don't want to show anger, okay? Don't show anger, disappointment, or frustration with your kids. Makes them feel bad, okay? And you look out of control too. Whenever you look angry, you look out of control. It's kind of scary. I was never yelled at as a kid, ever. I never yelled at my kids either. It's scary. So I'm trying to read these questions, but it looks like it's a continuation because it's not making much sense. You say, I try, but any type of praise triggers crying. And she says, no, no, and gets freaked out. 23 months. I don't know what you're talking about. When are you praising? And praise is overrated. Parents tend to overpraise and underplay. I'll give you an example. Let's say there's a 5-year-old little boy and you say to him, you're wonderful, you're special, I love you, you can do anything you want, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to go do the dishes now. This is him. You say to that same 5-year-old little boy, hey, what are you doing? Can I play too? Watch him light up. Praise is not their love language. You think it is, but you're wrong. Play and fun is their love language. Play in their world, connect with them in their world. That is their love language. Praise is so overrated. It's okay, but it's not what excites them at all. You can do it, probably makes you feel good, but it's not for them. And that 5-year-old little boy, it's not that he didn't like hearing that, but it didn't do anything for him. See? How do you grab their attention without yelling? I don't know how old they are, so I can't answer that. And you have to put the whole question plus the age, because if I see it pop up again, I won't know. I won't be able to put the age with the question. Okay. Advice. Oh, I got such a good answer for this one. This is Carlo and Christina on YouTube. Advice for dealing with repetitive questions. Same question over and over from a 3-year-old. Perfect. This is what I do. Why are the clouds white? I'm not really sure. We can go look that up later, okay, if you're in the car driving. Why are clouds light? Oh, I already answered that. Why are clouds light or white? I sort of said that a few times. So they keep asking. Now I've already answered that. So I answered it. So we'll look it up later. Second time I said, I've already answered that. The next time they ask, I say, they ask it. And then I go, wow, what a beautiful day. How about we play this song or whatever? I completely change the subject. I've already dealt with it. You control the narrative. You control the energy. You know they're just being pesty now because you've already answered them. So you control the narrative. You control the energy. Be cheery. Just say, don't say, stop asking me that. You've already said, I already answered that. Parents tend to be pulled into this. They just grab you. You know, they're fish hooking. They just grab you and you keep going. Quit asking me that. You're feeding it, right? They're controlling you now. So you control the narrative, you control the energy. Oh, what a beautiful day out. Why are clouds white? And then I just start singing along to a song or something. Yeah, it's okay. They'll get the hint eventually. How to deal with direct disobedience, defiance I don't use the word obedience. You're not raising obedient soldiers here without letting it get to your ego. Okay, you're going with the authority mentality. I don't teach that. So yeah, I teach leadership. Just keep watching. It'll start to make sense. You might want to check out my free behavior board, or you might want to listen to my 7 podcast series on YouTube. It explains all the basics for all this. If you go in the playlists on BratBusters Parenting on YouTube, it's called Calm Leadership Parenting Series. There are 7 podcasts in there. It's all the basic information. Okay, so I'm just going to read out what they are. The first podcast is Foundations and Core Concepts of Calm Leadership Parenting. The second one is Why Connection and Fun with Your Kids is So Important. It's way more important than discipline. Number 3 is Discipline Basics and Staying Calm During the Storms. Yep, that's discipline. Number 4 is Handling the Parenting Chaos, Tantrums, Whining, and More. That's fun. And the 5th one is Toddler Parenting Guide, Moving Past the Overwhelm. And then we've got 3-year-old transition and height of calm leadership. That's when you're transitioning into the 3-year-old stage when the behavior board really kicks in. And then the last one is raising confident problem solvers. That's a good one. Yeah, so that's the 7 podcast series. Because we don't have a book, we just decided to do that, all 7 podcasts in 7 days, just so that we'd have somewhere to push people, like say, if you want to know all the basics with all this. So yeah, you can't blame your kids for not listening to you at 3 years old. It's your fault. You're not a leader yet. They don't respect you. So if they don't listen to you, you got work to do on yourself. Don't blame your kids for their bad behavior. Between the ages of 3 and 12, it's on you. So you got some work to do on yourself, okay? That's why you don't discipline attitude. You can't. It's a byproduct of your lack of leadership. Didn't quite understand that. Sorry. You know, what's interesting. There's a whole bunch of questions on here that I don't understand. That's interesting. Usually I get 1 or 2, but I just don't understand the context around some of them. Okay. Again, I don't understand the context around this. Like, what kind of parent are you, is what I'm thinking. My 2-year-old screams at the top of his lungs and doesn't stop no matter how long I ignore. Okay, then I would just look distracted and look like I'm really into something else. Ooh, what's this over here? Let me see now. Is this a magic trick I've got going here? What's in my hand? Let me see. Oh, I see. You see how I'm looking like I got my own interesting thing going on? And the idea is he might come over and join you. I worked with tons of kids who were real handfuls, by the way. I was never asked to work with an easy kid. I always had something like this in my pocket. You know those pencil grip sponge things? I always had something like that, and I go, what's this? And then I always had like a magic trick. I'd go back and I'd pull it out with the other hand. Then I'd put it in my back pocket, come out like that. So I looked interesting. It shut them up. If they were screaming and yelling, boy, they got quiet real fast, just enamored with my magic tricks. All I had was a little foam thing, or I might stick it up my nose. If I got something on my face, kids love silly stuff, right? I distract them. Yep, that's what I do. I remember, I won't go into it, it's kind of a long story, but it just works. If you look like it doesn't bother you at all and you've got something interesting going on over here, you'll get bored with it, right? How do you raise resilient children? You don't try and solve all their problems. Like when I used to go to my mother with a problem, I'd say, Mom, I got a problem. What should I do? And I was little and I can remember this. And she'd say, well, I don't know. You're a smart girl. You can figure it out. And then we'd talk about it. I always thought I was solving all my own problems. She was giving me the odd little tidbits of advice, but she never told me what to do. Never. She made me tough. She made me figure it out myself, or think I was. So yeah, that's how you raise. And she never sort of like, I never told my kids either that life is fair. I said, when you're home, we got a great family life here. You're treasured. We have fun. But when you go out in the world, it's a war zone, and I can't protect you from that. At school, you're going to come up against bullies. I'll teach you how to deal with them, but I'm not going in to save the day. You got to learn how to get out there and deal with the fact that life is not fair. You're going to come up against all sorts of challenges, and the earlier you become a problem solver, the better. So I always encourage them to think for themselves, think on their feet. Yeah. I never tried to solve all their problems. I never tried to make their life easy. Like at home it was, but I never tried to make everything easy for them. Like I would never go into a teacher and say, my child likes this specifically. Can you single my child out and give them this? Parents do that, especially in private schools. They do that. Like they want their own little precious angel to be treated differently from the other kids. And they're always the kids who are really difficult too, right? For a good reason. And I never judge those kids. I always think it's not their fault, right? It's the parents' fault, but the parents are doing the best they can. So they just don't know better, right? Oops, sorry. How do you build confidence in kids? Really, I don't worry about confidence. I worry more about self-esteem. They're very different. You can have a lot of confidence, but very low self-esteem. So self-esteem is how you view yourself. Confidence is the ability to throw yourself out in front of people in the world, right? So both are great, but yeah, self-esteem is more important. You do that. You do that by giving them things to be proud of. Their personalities and the way they treat people is something to be proud of. So that builds self-esteem, high self-esteem. My son was in grade 2. And the teacher called me at her lunch break, which never happens. She calls me at home and she said, Lisa, you won't believe what your son said. He's in grade 2. She said to him, why are you so nice? And he said, he looked up at her and he goes, Mommy makes us be nice. He was proud of himself. They were nice kids. But, I sort of encouraged them to be nice. Like I gave them something to be proud of. And that increases self-esteem. Pretty nice to be told you're nice all the time by principals and teachers, and it builds your self-esteem. You can't give it to them. They have to earn it. Okay. So you bring out the best in them so that they earn the high self-esteem, right? You don't give it. They don't get it by being praised. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ignorant. Ignorant. I know I've just heard this the other day. I won't get into it. Someone mentioned something to me and they said, oh, you just praise them and it increases their self-esteem. That is trash. It's stupid. It's how they are. It's how they act, how they treat people. That increases their self-esteem. They know if they're nice or not. They know if they've earned the praise. If it's given out just trying to increase their self-esteem, it's ridiculous. How do you discipline without spanking? Just keep watching. Okay, how do you deal with bullies? This is on YouTube. Good question. It hasn't come up in a while. You know what's interesting? I started my business in 2007. Bullying was a really hot topic. So was social media managing, like the bullying on there too. Huge topics. I was always asked to tell. I used to go on the news and on the morning show and that, talking about this stuff, and on the radio. And now I don't hear much about bullying. Fascinating. I don't know why. Anyway, this is how I teach bullying, how to handle bullies. And I'll tell you a story to start this off, and it's the key to all this. I was in grade 2, and this grade 5-year-old bully, this big guy, came up to me, and I was just this little grade 2 kid, and I was terrified. He came up to me right in my face, and my last name was Hanky, and he came up to me and he goes, Hanky Panky, and I said to him, I prefer Snot Rag and Boogie Bundle. Oh, well, got to get back to class. And I left. He never came near me again. Now I'm going to break this down and explain what I did. I just came out. I was a very confident kid, by the way. And I was raised in a very funny family. So we used to call ourselves Snot Rag and Boogie Bundles, and we thought it was funny. So anyway, what I teach kids to do is agree with the bully, use humor if possible, and then have an out. Change the subject, say, I got to go, or anyway, so I'll tell you how you do it. So you do it with role playing with your kid. You say, you be the bully, and you tell me how it goes, or you can do this, make it up, but you never use, when you're role playing bullying and how to teach your kids how to handle a bully, you never use the example that's true. Like if they're bullied over having big ears, you're not going to use that because it still hurts. You're not going to use that. You're going to put on a silly hat and tease them about that. Something that's ridiculous, right? That's not true at all. So anyway, you put on a silly hat and you say, okay, so you be the bully and I'll be you. So this is what you teach your kids. So the kid says, oh, what an ugly hat. You say, yeah, the whole family has ugly hats. We love them. And so you've agreed with the bully. You've kind of used humor. And then you say, so what's your favorite, or what are you having for lunch today? Or what's your favorite PlayStation game? You've got to give that bully an out. You got to change the subject. If you don't, he's going to feel the pressure to come back at you again. Okay. And another thing and then you role play back and forth, and you be the bully and he be, you role play. Now, the idea behind role playing is that you can tell a kid how to do it, but until he's acted it out, he won't be able to do it under pressure. But it's like rehearsals with a play or anything. That's why they have rehearsals, because when they get nervous and under pressure, it still comes out because they've rehearsed so much. It's like muscle memory. It just comes out. Okay. So that's why you role play so much with your kid. Now, Another thing I never, ever, ever recommend is teaching a child to physically defend themselves, and unless they have to, if they're on the ground or something. But even that, I don't encourage that. If a kid is being beaten up physically, that's an adult's role to come in and break it up. Now, why do I not teach kids how to fight back? Because not all bullies are cowards. Some bullies are very practiced, very good fighters, and your child could get really hurt. So I never encourage teaching them to fight back, right? But, I won't go into all that. But anyway, I've done a lot of work on this. And it's interesting. I used to go into schools with clients and talk to the other parents of the bully. And so I always said, never use the word bully, and we'll work it out. We'll figure it all out, right? Sure enough, so I used to do stuff in person more 20 years ago. I don't do that anymore. Anyway, sure enough, the principal was there and everything, and they couldn't help themselves. They had to use the word bully. And the whole tone of the room changed. I said, don't do that. And it was all about, let's teach our kids how to get along. That's where I was coming from. But yeah, they'd throw out the word bully, and then it was like, it was a disaster after that. So anyway, okay, so that's how I handle bullying. Okay, I understand this. You said on YouTube, in my culture, parents love lecturing their kids. They think they're supposed to. Obedience to parents is seen as virtuous. Now, I have clients all over the world. Yeah, I won't talk about specific countries, but some countries really believe in obedience, and yet they'll hire me because it ain't working. Okay, so they want another way. So, but I have to respect different cultures too. A lot of times the men are the head of the house. They will not be on a behavior board. I can usually get them on in a different way. But I want them to also be leaders are accountable. Leaders are, if you do something wrong, you've got to be punished too by the kids, and it should be something fun for them. We're using humor with that a lot. But I have to respect different cultures, right? Which I do. I respect different cultures. Another challenge in coaching is households who have 2 or 3 generations living under the same roof. So they might have like the kids, the parents, the grandparents, even the great-grandparents. Now, each generation cannot backtalk the older one. So let's say your grandmother tells you what to do with your kids. You can't disobey her. So imagine the challenge for me with all that. It's quite fascinating. I love it. Anyway, and I totally respect different cultures. I love the fact that they respect their elders. They never talk back to them. But I definitely have to compromise some of my stuff. But anyway, okay. So yeah, I understand different cultures because I've worked with so many of them. And we're North American over here, obviously. We're pretty new. A lot of other cultures have been out there for a very long time. And maybe they know maybe they're a bit smarter than us in some ways too. We can all learn from each other, right? Okay, let me see here. Sorry, I'm bouncing around between YouTube and TikTok. Any tips for parenting an adopted child? Our daughter is 1 year old. Yeah, what you do is, and I know this for a fact because I was adopted. And I loved it. I loved the way it was told to me. I loved the way I grew up, always hearing I was adopted. I was always the adopted one because I always felt that being adopted was special. I felt chosen. And I remember when my mom told me I was adopted, I wouldn't have been much more than 2 or 3. I was really little. And I remember where I was sitting. She was gardening, and I was out sitting on this big boulder chatting away about nothing. And then she said, by the way, and I could tell it was a different conversation. She turned serious all of a sudden. And she goes, because a neighbor, I think, had just had a baby or something. And she goes, you know how that baby was in their tummy? And I said, yeah. And she goes, you weren't in my tummy. She goes, you were in another lady's tummy, but she was too young to look after you or whatever. I don't remember that part. But she goes, so we chose you. We went and picked you up. You were just a couple days old. And we went and picked you up. And so we chose you. So you're really special because you were chosen. And then I said, well, what about other kids? She goes, yeah, they're special too, but they were had. But I had it in my head. What I heard was, I'm way more special than other kids. That's how I interpreted that because I was chosen, right? So, and as the years went by, my mom was talking to the neighborhood kids, and I can remember telling them I was chosen and they were just had. Embarrassing. I was kind of up myself. Anyway, so then she got a whole bunch of phone calls from their parents can you please tell Lisa to tell our kids they're special too, just because they were had. Anyway, so yeah, mom overshot. So she had to explain that other kids are special too. But anyway, I love being adopted. Secrets imply shame. If you think that if you treat it like it's, oh my God, how are we going to tell them? It's going to look like there's something to be ashamed of. My mom, we talked about it all the time. I can remember I walked into a family dinner with all my cousins and that. And one of my cousins said, oh, never mind, the adopted one's here. The fun's going to stop. I thought it was hilarious. Like, because it was so out in the open. And I always felt special. So yeah, I loved it. I love being adopted. But it's interesting because I was adopted in 1960 and I knew someone else who was adopted and it was very secretive. They didn't talk about it. They were ashamed of it because it was not an open topic. Like it was something, secrets imply shame. To me, being adopted was, I remember once I told someone, they said, oh, you don't look, because I look very different from my family. I had this huge hair and green eyes and I just looked very different from the rest of my family. So they said, well, how come you look so different? I said, oh, because I'm adopted. And they went, oh, I'm so sorry. I said, I'm sorry you were just had. Didn't bother me at all. Anyway, yeah, I had a lot of confidence. Any special tips for raising gifted kids? Do not call them gifted. Um, should I say this or not? Mm, yeah, I guess I can. My son was labeled gifted, and I fought to keep him mainstreamed. And he was segregated at one point in high school, and I fought to keep him mainstreamed, and it didn't work. But yeah, it's you don't want them to be treated differently from anybody else. And being academically gifted does not make them better than other people. Okay, it's what's inside, how they treat people, what they're like, their personalities are like. Being gifted and you never should be proud of something you were given. I told my kids, never be proud of being good looking or gifted or anything like that. Those are gifts you were given. You be grateful for those gifts, but it doesn't make you better than anybody else. Okay. Just be grateful for those gifts you were given. Be proud of how you treat people. Okay. Parents tend to treat gifted kids as if they're these marvels. It's not true. They're often not very successful in life too. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean my son is, but I mean, he worked at it though, but I pushed the try hard. Don't just sit on your laurels. Right. But yeah, don't treat it like they're better than anybody else. And that's a big mistake parents make. Um, what's interesting too about that is I always value hard work and attitude and how you treat people. I always value that. I've known a lot of really smart people in my life, and um, some of them were nice, some of them weren't. I'd rather be with a dumb, fun person any day. I never really valued that. I value how people make me feel. I don't admire smarts. I think you're lucky if you've got it, but it's not something I admire particularly. Makes life easier in some ways. Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you a funny story. Hear me out. Don't tune me out before you hear the ending because it's kind of funny. Anyway, years ago, I was in high school and I was very fast. Like I got through tests and that very quickly. So the university came down. I think I was in grade 12 at this point. The university came down and they did a study on kids who were doing well in school or had some special talent kind of thing. So there was just a few of us picked out and they did this 3-hour test with us. I finished it in 20 minutes. And then they said, well, and I did really well on it. And then they said, well, how come you didn't take the whole 3 hours? Because I didn't answer all the questions. I said, well, I either know it or I don't. I don't sit and ponder over something I don't know. I don't guess, right? I either know it or I don't. Anyway, so then when they finished it all, they came back and they sort of gave us the results. And they said, your mind is really, really quick. And I said, well, I didn't. And this is the funny part. And I said, well, I didn't know I was that smart. And they said, we didn't say you were smart. We just said you were fast. And so my whole life I've been saying, I'm really fast, but I'm stupid. But I either know something or I don't. I don't try and ponder. Anyway, I thought that was funny. So turns out I'm really stupid, but I'm very fast. So, but I never valued intelligence. It didn't mean it. I value humor and how people make you feel. That's what I value. And that's what I wanted to raise my kids with too, right? Any gift you're given, just be grateful for it. don't brag about it. Don't value it. Like, just think, yeah, I'm grateful, but you can't take pride in it. That's the difference. I remember once this woman was talking to me, and she had her son. She kept talking about this gifted son she had. Well, she was about 4, I think, at the time. Both our boys were the same age, and she said, "Oh, I feel so lucky to have a gifted child." She was going on and on. The whole time she's talking, her kid was gnawing at her ankles, biting her. I thought, he's gifted, all right. How could she be bragging about this kid? I thought that was so funny. So yeah, don't focus on the wrong thing. If they need special challenges, I came up against some of that stuff too, but don't make it the focus of their life. It's not where you want to go. Behavior and character means so much more. Absolutely. Absolutely. I've met a lot of really unsuccessful, smart people and some really successful, dumb people. So it's work ethic, being adaptable. There's a whole bunch of other things I value so much more. Intelligence is great too, don't get me wrong, but it's not everything. Oops. Okay. Okay. No, sorry, I just was going to answer something, then I realized that I didn't have the context around it. Okay, I'll answer one more question, then I got to run. I don't understand this one, but I'm going to read it out. My 2-year-old won't stop hitting and headbutting me in the face. Why do you give them that opportunity? I'd be ready for it. I would think I got a headbutter and a hitter here. And I'm waiting for it, right? As soon as it comes at me, I go no, and I grab their hand before they could get to me. I wouldn't, and if I pick them up, I would pick them up off to the side, down low, and facing out. If they're going to headbutt me, I don't give them the opportunity. So you're actually facilitating it. Yeah. They'll outgrow it soon enough when they stop getting used to doing it. If they get used to doing it, they almost get like a muscle memory because you give them the opportunity all the time. I don't give those kids opportunities to do that. I stop it before it happens. The first time it starts happening, it might take me aback a little bit. And then I realize, okay, I got a headbutter and a hitter here. So I'm going to make sure they can't do it. Okay. And then I stop them. As soon as they go to hit me, I'd grab them and say no. And I'd probably put them down or walk away. Never show any anger, frustration, or disappointment. It makes you look like you're out of control. You're not a leader if you do that. Don't show anger, frustration, or disappointment. Just go no. Right? Okay, I got to go. Thanks so much for joining me. Check out my website, BratBusters.com. You can see my free behavior board, my courses, coaching. There's a big wait list, but I'll get to it eventually. Look into our podcast. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save it on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching me, and I'll be back again soon, hopefully. Happy parenting.